So a few weeks ago I made a video going over all of the new and up and coming Roblox games that were coming soon, and some of them have finally released. So a lot has changed about these games and my opinions about them. So I wanted to give you guys an updated version that more accurately says my opinions and includes some games that I didn't include in the original, and also give you a more accurate description of what you guys should really be looking forward to. So let's get into it. So coming in strong at last place we got Pixel Piece, and if you watched the original you would know that I put Pixel Piece at number 2 as the second best upcoming game. So you might be wondering what happened to cause this big of a drop off. Well, Pixel Piece actually did release, but it is now unreleased to fix the game, because the few highlights of Pixel Piece that we did see before it released were far from what the actual experience was like. The game arguably had the worst launch I've ever seen. There was a million bugs, people were spawning fruits, there wasn't half of the content that was promised, but the biggest turning point for me has gotta be that they promised the game wasn't gonna be a bandit beater. So when I made that video I was under the understanding that this game was something different and creative, which I shouldn't have assumed that and just gone by word. I learned my lesson. But the game is getting relaunched and it does seem like they're making good progress and they got new devs now. But I just can't put Pixel Piece higher because there's that thing where it's like, you fool me once, like shame on you. Fool me twice. But if I say it's gonna be good again and then it's not good, I'ma look stupid, so I can't put it any higher. But with that being said, I do hope the relaunch of the game is good and the game has a lot of potential. But let's move on. Coming in next we got Shonen Unleashed, and I have nothing bad to say about Shonen Unleashed. The game honestly looks really good. The combat's good. They got voice lines for like every ability, which is always cool to see. The awakenings and animations look nice. The combat even looks good, and it has an evasive system, and you know I love evasive systems. The only reason I don't have it higher is because it is a Battlegrounds game, and we just already have a lot of Battlegrounds games, especially with Anime Showdown releasing too. But overall I think this game is gonna be really good and I think a lot of people are gonna enjoy it. But let's move on. Next we got Project Mugetsu, which is a new Roblox Bleach game that is releasing very soon, and it looks really good. And since my last video, my opinions on this game haven't changed very much. Since my last video we have gotten more information about the game and more sneaks about the game, but my opinion has not changed very much just because I don't really understand everything about the game because I haven't watched Bleach, and it is a Bleach game. But what I do understand is the game looks really good and it looks pretty in depth, and the style is very similar to Project Slayers, and I enjoyed Project Slayers a lot, so I am going to be playing this game. It looks pretty good. But let's look at the next game, which is Anime Showdown. And hold on, I know Anime Showdown is actually out compared to all the other games on this list aren't actually out yet. But the reason I still want to include Anime Showdown on this list is because in my last video Anime Showdown was in it, and I wanted to show my change in opinion. And technically it's still in beta, so the full game isn't out, I guess. But honestly, Anime Showdown is a really good game. To me, it feels like the best Battlegrounds game on Roblox. The game is very polished, it's visually appealing, and most importantly, the combat is really good and fun. And despite it only having like 10 characters, the game really doesn't feel that repetitive. But its combat has definitely got to be Anime Showdown's biggest strength in my opinion. Compared to some games like ABA, for example, where the combat feels like you're either one-shot comboing them or getting one-shot comboed, the combat feels really engaging and back and forth, which feels a lot more realistic to me, which is why I personally really like it. But Anime Showdown does have its faults. The main problem with Anime Showdown just being its lack of content. I mean, it is in beta, but for example, there's not even a rank for 2v2s and 3v3s. And for me personally, I enjoy 2v2s and 3v3s way more than 1v1, so it is a big thing for me that it's not in the game yet. And also, there is only 10 characters, like I said. It's enough characters that you feel like you have a choice in who you want to play, but it is still probably Anime Showdown's biggest weakness, as it has definitely caused the player base to get bored a lot faster. But let's move on. The next game on my list is a game called Voxel Blade, which you might have heard of because the game actually came out before, but it's now getting revamped. I don't know if you consider it a revamp because apparently it's completely made from scratch, so it's not the same game at all, but it is like the same concept, I guess. But I also want to clarify real quick, in my last video I called it anime games, and in this one I haven't made the title for it yet, but not all games in this video are anime games, because this game, for example, is not an anime game. It is an RPG game, and it's too good of a game for me not to include it because it's technically not an anime game. So what is Voxel Blade and why is it so high on the list? Well, Voxel Blade is a class-based RPG game. You choose a type of sword, for example, like a dagger, and then you choose a race, for example, like elf. And then there's a ton of stuff to do on the map. There's like storyline quests and then just normal quests. None of the quests, I believe, have actual level caps on them. And the game is just really fun to explore, and there's a ton of different bosses, and it's just a really fun game. They had a stress test a few weeks ago where you're able to test the game, and the game was really impressive, and it should be coming about next month, I believe. But yeah, Voxel Blade's a really good game, and there's not a lot of games I think will be better than it. But next I got Arcane Odyssey, which is also technically not an anime game. It is inspired by some anime, animes, but it's not an anime game. With that being said though, Arcane Odyssey is still amazing. It's an open world story based game that mainly revolves around magic and pirates. And I feel like this is some sort of like legacy game for me, or like my redemption arc. Because last time I put Arcane Odyssey below Pixel Piece and Anime Showdown. Not to necessarily discredit those games, I should have put Arcane Odyssey above them. And the only reason I really didn't is because I like the visuals on those games more. And I still do, to be honest. But in my opinion, gameplay is so much more important than graphics. Because a game can be really enjoyable with bad graphics, but a game can never be enjoyable with bad gameplay. Or at least that's how I feel. But Arcane Odyssey's gameplay and overall mechanics are so in-depth, and that's why I have the game so high. And also you could tell the devs really care about the game, and it's not a cash grab. And they've even gone as far to say that game passes will only be cosmetic. There's a more in-depth video on my channel about Arcane Odyssey if you want to check that out. And let's move on to the last and best game, at least in my opinion. But real quick, if y'all enjoy any of my videos, I would appreciate if y'all would subscribe and like the video, because these take time to make, and liking and subscribing does a lot more than you would probably think. But the best up and coming Roblox game for me is still not close, and it's still Holyware X. And the game has only gotten better since my last video. A lot of weapons they made that still looked really good were not up to their standards, so they like redid all of the weapons. Now I forgot to mention that Holyware X is a 7 Deadly Sins game, but honestly it could be any type of game. Just the core game is so good. For example, they have this like lock-in camera movement thing where you can see on screen right now, and it looks so immersive. And then for combat, the combat honestly looks better than games that only have combat, like Battlegrounds games for example. But it feels like Holyware X did not miss in any aspect of their game. For example, the UI also looks like the best UI I've ever seen on Roblox. Then we got the map, and the map is honestly also one of the best maps I've ever seen. I personally like the style they went for, but even if you don't like the style it's in, I feel like the map is still objectively good. And the game just feels very innovative overall. That's why if you've heard me talk about Holyware X before, you've probably heard me describe it as like the next step of Roblox games, so I really feel like it is. Even aspects such as like the flight, it's just so smooth. And also from what they've told us about the progression system, it feels like progression is going to be fun too. The progression is going to be like multi-step quests that are like randomized, so it's different every time. But I feel like to progress in this game, you need to get weapons too, so you need to get boss drops or whatever. And although we haven't seen that much about bosses, from what we have seen, the bosses look very good too. There's so much depth to this game, so I do encourage you guys to go watch my other videos on Holyware X. But I also want to give props to the owner, Alfred, because he's so in tune with the Roblox scene that every time he sees something cool, he adds it to Holyware X, and that's why I think it's going to be such a good game. For example, he added the blacksmith weapon HP thing from Project Slayers, he added the guards from Deep Woken, and just a lot of stuff like that that's going to make the game really good. Or I feel like the right way to put it was it's going to make a game that's already would have been a good game an even better game. The only concern I do have with this game is I know those Game Pass and spin prices are going to be crazy, because I know he knows how good this game is. So just prepare to mortgage like half of your house for this game, but besides that, the game is honestly perfect. Okay, I'm dragging it, but I honestly am just really excited for the game. But like I said, if y'all enjoyed, I'd appreciate if y'all would subscribe or like the video, and I'll keep y'all updated on all the new Roblox games and all the updates we have about release dates and all of that. And I really appreciate all the support you guys have been giving me on my recent videos, so thank y'all.